I'm bound to a glitch system, one that lets me force anyone to repeat the same action 100 times. So when my picture-perfect replacement, the girl raised in my place, deliberately swan-dived off the second-floor balcony to frame me, our family was ready to tear me apart. But in the next second, she started acting like a zombie, crawling back up to the second floor and, without a moment's hesitation, throwing herself off again. 100 times later, my doting parents and my brother had completely lost their minds. "You're finished, Stella. This time, Mom and Dad will never forgive you." Tiffany Mason chirped those words with a smug little smile, then tipped backward out of the second-floor window. She landed in the flower bed at the base of the wall, making the housekeeper, who was watering the petunias, scream in terror. Mom and Dad and my brother, Caleb, burst out of the house into the yard. The moment they saw Tiffany, they panicked. Mom burst into tears, and Dad fumbled with his phone, trying to dial 911. Caleb knelt beside Tiffany, his voice cracking. "Tiff, what happened? Who did this?" Tiffany tremulously held up an arm scratched by rose thorns, a picture of tragic beauty against her pristine white sundress. She pointed a trembling finger up at me on the second-floor landing. "Caleb, I don't know what I did wrong. Stella, it hurts so much, boo-hoo." Instantly, 3 pairs of eyes shot daggers at me. All pretense of warmth vanished. The so-called bond of blood was meaningless. The hatred boiling over was aimed squarely at me, the interloper who had dared to harm the precious daughter, the darling sister they had spent years cherishing. Maybe in my last life, their cold, naked animosity would have cut me to the bone. But right now, I was buzzing with excitement. System, lock onto that action the fall. Set it to repeat 100 times. In my previous life, Tiffany's little ploy worked perfectly. It was just a few scrapes, but it sent the Masons into a rage. They swarmed me, beating and kicking me until I was severely injured. I died from my wounds while they were rushing Tiffany to the hospital. After I died, my soul floated in the air, and I saw a stream of text, like comments on a screen, scrolling past me. "The real daughter is so pathetic. The Masons are a bunch of bastards. They should all die. Hey author, if you want to write the fake daughter as a vicious villain, maybe try a revenge genre. The real daughter didn't do anything. Using an innocent character's death just to prop up the fake daughter's villainy is a huge turnoff for readers. It's not satisfying at all. This family is just as fake as every other family in these switched-at-birth stories. If you don't change the plot and give them what they deserve, I'm reporting this whole book. Bring the real daughter back. Let her get revenge. Revenge, 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 revenge." The glitched-out comments flooded my vision. It was only then that I understood. I was the cannon-fodder real daughter in a novel where Tiffany Mason was the villainous protagonist. All these readers spamming the comments. It's such a glitchy mess. Fine, you can have a glitch system. I'm abandoning this book. You figure out the rest. I'm out. A message, presumably from the author, appeared before fading away forever. And just like that, I was reborn with this very glitch system, waking up moments before Tiffany's stage fall. Looking at that smug, cloyingly cute face, the pain and hatred from the beating in my past life surged through me. Last time, I was a victim of the plot. This time, I was going to make this family feel the terror of being dominated by a cheat code. "Stella, are you insane? You push Tiff? Get your ass down here now." Just like last time, my brother Caleb charged up the stairs. He didn't care that I was a girl half his size. His fist was raised, ready to strike. "Oh, Tiffany, Tiffany, where are you going?" This time, my mother's shriek stopped him in his tracks. He instinctively looked down into the yard. He saw Tiffany shoot up from the flower bed as stiff as a board. Head down, she began marching up the stairs with an unnerving, relentless gait, moving so fast she slammed right into Caleb, knocking him aside. She climbed onto the window frame in front of me, sat down for a second, and, with a hollow look in her eyes, recited her original line. "You're finished, Stella. This time, Mom and Dad will never forgive you." Then, she leaned back, thump, and fell again. "Ah!" Mom and the housekeeper screamed again below. My dad just stood there, stunned, the phone slipping from his hand and clattering onto the patio stones. "Tiffany!" Caleb roared, his voice filled with anguish as he scrambled down the stairs. Before he even reached the bottom, Tiffany was already getting up and climbing again. Crash! She barreled into him again, climbed onto the window ledge. "You're finished, Stella. This time, Mom and Dad will never forgive you," and jumped. "Quick, stop her!" Mom and Dad finally snapped out of it and started shouting. Caleb lunged. Tiff, crash. Tiffany, crash. She's gonna break my damn OW, crash. On the 10th repetition, Tiffany was moving at least 5 times faster. She sent Caleb flying, and he crashed onto the hardwood floor of the foyer, his glasses shattering. That's the thing about a glitch. It only gets faster, and the force increases with the speed. Mom and Dad finally rushed over, grabbing Tiffany and holding on for dear life. But her momentum dragged them a good 40 feet across the floor. The rough wooden molding scraped off a layer of skin from their arms, chests, and backs. They started howling in pain. Are you crazy? You're even knocking over your own parents? Stop. Stop it right now. Do you hear me? Despite their yelling, the 3 of them didn't dare get near Tiffany again. They wouldn't step into the open space between the front door and the staircase. Instead, they huddled in a corner, their eyes wide with terror, watching Tiffany go up and down, up and down. Each loop was punctuated by our mother's heartbroken sobs. But this was only the 25th time. By the 55th time Tiffany jumped, the sun had set. She had hit peak glitch, her movements so fast they were just a blur. Mom had no tears left, only an all-consuming fear. And how could you not be terrified? Tiffany had set everything up for her first jump, a little stunt to gain sympathy, expecting nothing more than a few scratches. But she hadn't counted on jumping from the same height over 50 times, reopening the same wounds over and over. The Tiffany of right now was in tatters, a Jackson Pollock of blood and dirt, her body animated only by the system. She would crawl out of the dark doorway, making a creaking, scraping sound. From a distance, she looked like a burnt spider monkey. Up close, she was Kaiko from The Grudge. Who wouldn't be shaking? Mom, Dad, do something. She's going to kill herself doing this. Only Caleb still cared about his sister. He couldn't see what was happening. Tiffany had smashed his glasses, and his severe nearsightedness turned the thing crawling on the floor into an unrecognizable blob. My mother's voice was gone. She was just a hoarse whisper as she collapsed against my father. My dad sat cross-legged on the floor and started chanting. He was a businessman. He believed in that kind of stuff. At the 90th repetition, the sky began to lighten with the dawn. Caleb was kneeling beside the long, dark red smear left by Tiffany's crawling, looking completely catatonic. Mom and Dad clung to each other, drenched in cold sweat, utterly silent. On the 100th repetition, the ambulance, which had been summoned and controlled by the system, finally arrived. The paramedics dug a barely breathing Tiffany out of the pit she'd worn into the flower bed. Family, we need a family member to come with us, a paramedic shouted from outside. Caleb scrambled to his feet. Me? I'll go. I'll go with her. Only then did I slowly descend from the second floor, feigning the same shell-shocked expression. I want to hold my parents up. Mom, Dad, get up. Something is seriously wrong with Tiffany. Are you sure you want to let Caleb go with her alone? That snapped them out of it. An adopted daughter was still just a daughter, but their son was their entire world. The 2 old fools staggered to their feet. Let's go, let's go. We have to go see. Yes, go on. The best part of the show is about to start, and you wouldn't want to miss it. Tiffany, true to her role as the original protagonist, managed to survive. It just goes to show how powerful plot armor is. She was tough to kill. Even so, she had multiple fractures and contusions all over her body. She wouldn't be getting out of bed for at least 3 to 5 months. It hurts. What's happening? Why can't I move? My face. My face hurts so much. Why? Mom, Dad, Caleb, why aren't you helping me? Tiffany had never experienced pain like this. With no memory of the glitch, she was screaming and crying hysterically. The 3 of them, hearts aching, wanted to go and comfort her, but they couldn't overcome the psychological trauma of the burnt spider monkey. Especially Caleb. As soon as he'd gotten into the ambulance, he had rushed to Tiffany's side, only to be confronted with a blood-caked face and 2 wide, bloodshot eyes staring back at him. He nearly fainted from shock. Only I was the only one who could handle the pressure. I walked to her bedside and gently patted the gauze, next to Tiffany's shoulder. It's okay, Tiff. You have to be strong. If you can't be strong, what will you do later? I suddenly understood the psychology of a killer returning to the scene of the crime. The current Tiffany was like my own creation. The uglier she was, the more I liked her. She even forgot her usual damsel in distress act. She shrieked at me. Stella? What are you still doing here? Was it you? You're the one who did this to me. Mom, Dad, it was Stella. She's the one who made me fall. Do something about her. Do it, I explained with remarkable calm. Tiffany, you have every right to blame me. It's my fault. I didn't stop you. Mom and Dad wanted to stop you, but I saw a flicker of fear cross my parents' faces. They subconsciously touched their own injuries, the phantom pain creating a visceral dread of Tiffany. Of course, Tiffany knew none of this. All she knew was that her parents hadn't stopped her. Worried her face was ruined, she blurted out thoughtlessly, "Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this." This was the line I was waiting for. System, make her say that 100 times. "We tried to stop you, but we couldn't," my father explained, his face a mask of misery. "You were too strong." My mother nodded frantically. "Yes, that's right. You dragged me right across the floor." As she spoke, she showed Tiffany the raw scrape on her arm. Look, it took off a huge patch of skin. Normally, Tiffany would have immediately apologized, cooing and blowing on the wound to make it better. But now her eyes were still wide with fury as she repeated in that same urgent, accusatory tone, "Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this." My parents were stunned. They stared at Tiffany in disbelief. My mother's voice trembled. Tiffany continued, "Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this." My father's anger flared. "What kind of way is that to talk to us? I already told you we couldn't stop you. If you're going to blame us like this, I'm going to get really angry. Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this. What is wrong with you? Are you deaf? Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this. Say that one more time. Why didn't you stop me? If you had just stopped me, I wouldn't be like this." "Shut up." My father completely lost it, breathing heavily as he pointed a trembling finger at Tiffany. "Have you lost all sense of decency? If you keep this up, you can stay here by yourself. We won't come visit you." He was so agitated his eyes were turning red. Tiffany ignored him completely, repeating the same line over and over, her voice getting louder and shriller. My mother clutched her chest, unable to take it anymore, and started crying again. "Tiffany, how could you blame me like this? Don't you think I want what's best for you? There was nothing I could do. Why can't you understand what we went through?" Only Caleb was still defending her. "Mom, Dad, she's just in a lot of pain. An injury this severe is a huge blow for a young woman. She must be hurting so badly that she's not herself. The most important thing now is for her to rest. Please don't blame her." I chimed in to help. "He's right. Besides, why does she keep repeating that one sentence? Do you think maybe when she fell?" I gestured vaguely towards my head. "Stella, what are you trying to say? That there's something wrong with Tiffany's brain? Stop trying to stir up trouble. We still don't know why she jumped in the first place, and you were always bullying her. Maybe you drove her to it." Caleb was a true hypocrite. Anything that happened to Tiffany, he would automatically pin on me. I couldn't be bothered with him. I just turned to my parents. "Mom, Dad, let's call a doctor. It's better to have him take a look at Tiffany, just in case." My words clearly swayed them. They exchanged hesitant, appraising glances, their eyes lingering on Tiffany. After all, for a wealthy heiress, physical injuries could heal. But a damaged mind was a different problem entirely. Her value, beyond sentimentality, would have to be reassessed. Before they could call a doctor, however, a nurse pushed the door open, her tone sharp. "What is all this shouting? You're the family. Can't you control the patient? Even the VIP wing, there are other patients next door. Have you no decency?" My parents considered themselves dignified members of the elite. They were well-known figures at this private hospital. Being scolded by a nurse was a public humiliation they couldn't bear. "How am I supposed to control her? She's been like this ever since she woke up," my father retorted coldly. "I haven't blamed your hospital for not treating her properly, so why are you giving me attitude? What's your badge number? I'll be speaking to your supervisor." Seeing his bluster, the nurse didn't argue. She just frowned and stared at Tiffany, who was still shrieking the same sentence, for a long moment. "Then she want to get the doctor? Welcome to the 5th floor." The 5th floor was the psych ward. After learning that the doctor suspected Tiffany had schizophrenia, my father slammed the door and stormed out. More than a loving father, he saw Tiffany as a carefully curated investment. Now that the investment had gone bust, he was naturally furious. My mother, by comparison, was far more human. At first, she acted like the sky was falling, stumbling around and nearly fainting. Then she collapsed next to a hoarse, voiceless Tiffany and sobbed. "So Tiff is sick. Don't worry. Mommy will make sure you get the best treatment." Finally, she covered her face and sat on a bench in the hallway, weeping with worry. "What are we going to do if word gets out that Tiffany is sick? Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Davis, the whole circle will know I raised a mentally ill daughter. What will happen to my reputation?" I chose the perfect moment to console her. "They won't, Mom. If we don't say anything, how will they know? Besides, Tiffany's condition hasn't even been diagnosed yet. Maybe once her injuries heal, her mind will too. You have to be strong, especially now. The gala tomorrow is full of influential people, and they're all waiting for you to make a dazzling appearance. The gala, my mother exclaimed, as if she had forgotten the most important event of the year. Right. Tomorrow's gala. It's critical. How could I have forgotten? Leaning on my arm, she rushed towards the exit. Quickly, I need to book a spa appointment and get my hair done. MOM, Caleb yelled desperately from behind us. My mother only glanced back, offering a weak instruction. Come home after you're done taking care of your sister. You have to be at the gala tomorrow. With that, she fled as if escaping a disaster. I turned back and helped Caleb lift the exhausted Tiffany onto the bed. As she lay there, having just completed her 100th repetition, I leaned in and whispered in her ear, "You won't be able to make the gala tomorrow night. Mom and Dad are taking me instead. Are you mad?" I saw her eyes fly open in shock. I gave her an innocent shrug and followed my mother out the door. Businessmen value profit over sentiment. It's an age-old truth. The reason they rejected me and preferred Tiffany was because they had spent 18 years cultivating a perfect princess they could show off. Now that the princess had become a lunatic, once they calmed down, how much of their love would actually remain? Of course, the emotions of youth are the most sincere. Caleb resolutely stayed behind to take care of Tiffany. I imagined Tiffany would make good use of the last and only person who could help her turn the tables. Don't disappoint me. Let Stella go to the gala in Tiffany's place. Back home, my mother stared at me wearing the custom-made gown originally intended for Tiffany, her face etched with hesitation. Is this really okay? My father shot her an impatient glare. Why wouldn't it be? She's your biological daughter, and she looks just like you. Dressed up, she's every bit as impressive as Tiffany. His expression softened as he turned to me. Stella, you've only been back for half a year. Your mother and I originally planned to give you more time to adjust before taking you to major events like this. But you've seen your sister's situation. The Mason family can't show up without one of our children to represent us. We have no choice but to have you step up early. This is a big opportunity. Are you ready to seize it? The old bastard was smoother than I thought, a master manipulator with his words. I nodded obediently. Thank you, Dad. I won't let you or Mom down. He nodded, pleased. Good. Although Tiffany always seemed to steal the spotlight, I've been watching you. Your teachers say you get excellent grades, that you're a smart girl. Perhaps. You have better fortune than Tiffany. Then his tone shifted. Your Uncle Covington will be at the gala tonight. He's an old friend of ours. Their family moved abroad, and we haven't seen them in over a decade. Their son is coming too. He's your age. You young people should get to know each other, build a connection for the future. He patted my shoulder meaningfully. Originally, their son and Tiffany were childhood friends. We used to joke that we'd arranged a marriage for them. But with Tiffany now, well, happiness is something you have to fight for yourself. Do you understand? The hint couldn't have been more obvious. We had arrived at the classic real and fake heiresses fight over the fiancé plot point. I immediately declared my commitment. You and Mom have done so much for me. I'll do my absolute best. You can count on me. You can count on me to screw this up for you. I was going to ruin everything. In a world that revolved around Tiffany, everyone but me was a hypocrite. It was obvious that any fiancé who would have gotten along with her in the original story had to be a real piece of work. Marry him? I'd have to be insane. Sure enough, at the gala, when my parents introduced me to the Covington heir, Chadwick Covington, he glanced at me with disdain. Just because your last name is Mason doesn't mean you get to be my fiancé. He sneered. First, the other Mason girl steals Tiff's parents, and now you're trying to steal me? Nice try. I didn't raise you. I don't owe you a thing. Classic. The sheer stupidity was just classic. He was the type of idiot who gets handed a piece of candy by the villainess as a kid and decides she's different from all the other girls. All I could do was offer a sympathetic smile. Oh no, Mr. Covington. You and Tiffany are the perfect match. You're two of a kind. Two peas in a moronic pod. I tilted my head slightly. It's just that Tiffany is in the hospital and couldn't make it tonight. Would you like to come with me to visit her? Stella, you're just trying to get Chad to see Tiffany when she's at her worst, aren't you? Drop the crocodile tears. Caleb suddenly appeared, ruthlessly exposing my plan without a second thought for our parents' disapproving glares. Chad grew up with us. You think you can compete with that history? I've told you before, I only have one sister, and Chad only has one fiancée. Seeing the Covingtons start to eye me with suspicion, my father quickly stepped in, his face stern. Caleb, what do you think you're doing? Are you trying to start a fight with your sister in front of your aunt and uncle? What have I taught you? My mother chimed in. That's enough, Caleb. The adults are catching up. Don't stand here bickering. You and Chad haven't seen each other in years. Go get a drink together and talk. In her heart, she still favored Tiffany. I remembered last year, after I first came back, when Tiffany threw a tantrum and threatened to run away. My mother had held her, crying her eyes out. That night, I had tried to have a quiet word with her, only to overhear her comforting Tiffany in her room. Silly girl, I've raised you for 18 years. You are my real daughter. Even if Stella shares my blood, she never lived with me. I'm used to having you around. You're my favorite. I can't even sleep without you here. She was the rose she had personally nurtured, so much more fragrant than the weed from the countryside. By sending Caleb and Chad off together, she was just telling him to talk Tiffany up. Caleb got the message loud and clear and slung an arm around Chad's shoulders, leading him away. I set down my champagne flute and quietly followed them. In this family, it was an absolute patriarchy. Mom's affection didn't mean much. The fact that Dad had decided I would replace Tiffany at the gala signaled a huge crisis for her. Add to that what I'd whispered in her ear at the hospital. A girl like Tiffany, who would fight tooth and nail for the spotlight, would show up here tonight, even if the pain was killing her. As expected, in the small garden behind the ballroom, I saw Tiffany, sitting in a wheelchair. She was wearing a royal blue tulle gown, her face perfectly made up. She looked fragile and pale, and even the cuts on her face seemed artfully tragic. A broken porcelain doll. It was breaking Chad's heart. He was kneeling on one knee in front of her, gently stroking her cheek, a frenzied look in his eyes. Who did this? Tell me. Tiffany's eyes welled up with tears as she shook her head, looking wronged and vulnerable. Chad, please don't ask. Ever since my sister came back, I haven't really been a part of this family anymore. You won't leave me too, will you? That Stella bitch did this to you, didn't she? I'll go drag her over here right now and make her pay. Chad's face contorted with rage, and he started to stand up. Tiffany quickly grabbed his arm, wincing as she pulled at her wounds. Ow! This was a joke. She had snuck here to secure her hold on Chad. What would happen if Mom and Dad found her? Chad, seeing her pain, immediately knelt back down. I deliberately stepped out from behind the hedge, making it look like I'd been spying and failed to hide properly, ensuring Tiffany could see me. A flash of triumph crossed her face. Then, she turned to Chad with a blush. I don't want you to fight with my parents because of me. How about this? If you kiss me, the pain will go away. Caleb let out a pointed cough and turned his back to them. Chad gave a low, domineering chuckle, then leaned in to kiss the wound on Tiffany's cheek, then her lips. Behind the bushes, I was about to die laughing. System, lock on to that whole sequence of Tiffany being kissed by Chad. Let's see it 100 times. The usually silent system finally offered its first ever opinion of me. Nice. Would have been a chaste, delicate kiss instantly turned into a frantic makeout session. Since it was an action requiring two people, Chad was forced to join Tiffany's glitch loop. As the rhythm got faster and faster, the light peck turned into a French kiss, then into sloppy sucking, then into audible slurping. It was Caleb's scream that drew the reporters and other guests. By the time my parents and the Covingtons arrived, Tiffany and Chad were completely surrounded by a sea of flashing cameras. The two of them looked absolutely pathetic. The initial romanticism of the scene had been obliterated by the endless repetition, which had drained all their strength. Chad was half-squatting, trembling like he was constipated, while Tiffany's head lolled back, her neck barely supporting the violent, jerking motions. To make matters worse, Chad had sucked the wounds on Tiffany's face until they started bleeding. The two of them were a bloody mess, gnawing on each other, like two zombies in a passionate embrace. Chadwick, what do you think you're doing? Get over here. Mr. Covington, who had been maintaining a cool and collected facade, was losing it. After his shouts had no effect, he ran over and tried to pull Chad and Tiffany apart. But the two of them were surprisingly strong. They looked like they were on the verge of collapse, but they wouldn't budge an inch. Mrs. Covington ran to help, but Chad flung her off, and her heel caught in a crack in the flagstones. She fell flat on her ass, as a dozen cameras flashed. The murmurs and jeers of the surrounding guests were relentless. They certainly open, these people who've been living abroad. The families aren't even united by marriage yet, and they're going at it like this in public? If that were my daughter, I'd break her legs. The Masons' tactics are so cheap. They know their company can't compare to the Covingtons anymore, so they're desperate to sell off their daughter. Is no one else seeing how creepy this is? He's literally kissing her till she bleeds, and she's not even pulling away. Are they both sadists or something? Disgusting. I'm going to throw up the steak I just ate. Look at their parents, just watching. How messed up is this? Maybe there's some kind of mental illness involved? A shared psychosis. You think this is funny? All I see are two sexually repressed young people being driven to mutual social suicide by their oppressive parents. The Covington family company had gone public a few years back, and their net worth had skyrocketed. They had been on the fence about the marriage alliance with my family, just stringing us along while they looked for better options. Now this happened, making it look like a done deal, and in such a disgraceful way. Mr. Covington was apoplectic. He stormed over to my parents, pointing an accusatory finger. Are you just going to stand there and watch? Control your daughter. What's the meaning of this? You introduce one of them officially, and then you slip another one in on the side? Are the Mason daughters that desperate for a man? Are they that cheap? My mother couldn't take the humiliation. The mental illness issue had already made her feel ashamed. Now, being accused of pimping out her daughter in front of Mrs. Thompson and Mrs. Davis was the final straw. Where was her high society princess supposed to hide her face now? So she fought back. What is wrong with you, Robert? Is your eyesight failing in your old age? Look what your son is doing to my daughter. And his hands, what is he doing with his hands? It was true. Due to the involuntary convulsions, Chad's hands, which had been gently stroking Tiffany's face, were now gripping her with incredible force, his fingers digging into her cheeks. It looked painful, but my cunning father used this to his advantage. Let it go, Robert, he said with a sigh. Look how much your Chad adores our Tiffany. You can't even pull them apart. Let's just give them our blessing and let them get married. Like hell we will. Mrs. Covington, fiercely protective of her son, wasn't having it. She wiped a hand across Chad's face, which was streaked with horrified tears mixed with blood. My son is crying. He's crying, can't you see that? Suddenly, as if she understood something, she let out a piercing cry and pointed at my parents. Tell me, does Tiffany have some kind of superpower? Or did she put some kind of curse on my son? It's not possible otherwise. My son would never act like this. My heart skipped a beat. A mother's intuition. She had somehow stumbled upon a version of the truth, just by instinct. But my parents had no time to think. Mrs. Covington, wild with grief for her son, started beating on Tiffany. Caleb rushed to protect Tiffany and started trying to pull Mrs. Covington away. Not to be outdone, Mr. Covington started kicking Caleb. My father, of course, was going to protect his precious son, so he jumped in and started brawling with Mr. Covington. My mother, seeing the whole family engaged, decided that if her reputation was ruined, she might as well vent her frustrations and join the fray, throwing punches wildly. It was a total mess, and a mess like this is best served hot. A small smile played on my lips. System, from the moment my mother joined in, any action Tiffany feels make the whole group experience it 100 times. And thus, the fully automated family brawl-o-matic was born. The Masons and the Covingtons fought from night until day. From day until night. They fought until the reporters had captured every angle and their hands were sore. Every social media feed was flooded with 360-degree views of their family's spectacular, shameless implosion. They fought until the onlookers, bored and yawning, started heading home, muttering, "Make a note, never do business with either of these families. They're all completely insane." I ate dessert and drank wine. Just as the glitch cycle was about to complete, I called 911. My parents were not young. No matter how well-preserved they were, they couldn't withstand 36 hours of glitched-out combat. They were broken. Utterly broken. Incontinent on the floor broken. The Covingtons were in the same state. The second he was free, Chad violently shoved the blood-soaked Tiffany away from him and collapsed on the ground, vomiting uncontrollably. He was an aristocrat, but not a vampire aristocrat. The change in diet didn't agree with him. The taste of blood would haunt him for the rest of his life. Tiffany fell out of her wheelchair and, holding her breath, started crawling towards Chad, trying for one last dramatic, star-crossed lover's moment. Chad, even if you suck me dry, I'll never blame you. This sent Chad into a fresh wave of shrieking. Mom, am I going to die? I'm seeing a ghost. Only Caleb had any strength left. Like a loyal dog, he picked up Tiffany, trying to put her back in her wheelchair. I was so moved by his dedication that I decided to let him shine. System, the action of being placed in the wheelchair. 100 times, please. Caleb was finished. Both his arms suffered from rhabdomyolysis, leading to severe kidney damage. My parents had just come out of their own surgeries and finished crying for themselves when they found out their son wasn't out of the emergency room yet. So they started crying for him. Compared to them and their useless tears, I was quite busy. I brought my father his laptop, filled with emails from shareholders demanding to know if he'd been diagnosed with a mental illness, and his phone, overflowing with resignation letters. I also provided my mother with a live reading of the top comments on social media, calling her a trailer trash shrew and pointing out how old and haggard she looked. My mother now spent her days alternating between weeping and laughing maniacally. She wasn't far from a genuine diagnosis herself. My father was still trying to hold on. Where's my legal team? I'm going to sue them. I shrugged regretfully. Sorry, Dad. The company's legal department has been dissolved. You'll need to approve a budget for me to hire outside counsel. He didn't know yet. The Covingtons had deep pockets and had already launched a vicious counterattack against our family. They'd poached key departments and employees with huge offers, dug up every shady deal he'd ever made, and paid a PR firm to drag our company's name through the mud, nailing it to a public pillar of shame. They were compiling massive amounts of data to submit to federal regulators for a full investigation. Soon, the Mason family would face a fate worse than bankruptcy, and I was the only one left to run errands for my parents. To ensure I didn't get any ideas, my father had me sign an asset division agreement. As the legal heir to the Mason family, I voluntarily relinquished all rights to the company's shares. But to appease me, he transferred a sum of $10 million into a trust for me as my personal property. This was what I wanted. A few days after the $10 million hit my account, my university acceptance for studying abroad came through. That night, as I was preparing to leave the hospital for good, my father suddenly grabbed my hand. Stella, it was Dad who wronged you. From now on, this family depends on you. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. When the time is right, you should get your legal records changed. We can become a real family. How ridiculous. Only now did he remember that, legally, we had never been a family. I laughed. For the first time in front of him, I let my schadenfreude show. No need, Dad. I never wanted to be a part of this family. Why would I? I tilted my head. To suffer along with your miserable lot, without waiting to see the shock on his face, or to hear the stream of curses that would surely follow once he processed my words. I walked out of the hospital room. I walked out of the hospital. I took a deep breath of air that was finally free of disinfectant and the faint, permanent smell of piss and shit that clung to them. Instead, I smelled something rancid. I looked down and saw Tiffany crawling on the ground. The entire Mason family was in the hospital. No one had the energy to deal with her anymore. And the Covingtons certainly weren't taking her in. She looked just as she had during her 100-jump ordeal, ragged, filthy, her pure hatred for me mixed with a dazed confusion. How did you do it? Stella, you were supposed to die after I jumped. Mom, Dad, and Kayla were supposed to beat you to death, she rasped. What did you use? Do you have a system? It seemed that after her protagonist halo was shattered, she had awakened some inconvenient memories. But why would I tell her the truth? Nope, I shrugged, adopting the same faux innocent tone she used to favor. It's just that Mom and Dad decided you were worthless and don't want you anymore. I'm their precious daughter now. I don't believe you. She sniffled, her face twitching. Then, her composure finally shattered. And Mom and Dad would never abandon me, she shrieked. They've always loved me. It's you. You're the one behind all of this. I'm going to tell them. When they find out, they won't let you get away with it. She shot me a venomous glare and started crawling up the hospital steps. A security guard ran over. Miss, who is this? Do you need help? I shook my head politely. This is my parents' daughter. She's here for a visit. She just has a preference for this. Sort of funereal, crawling on all fours aesthetic. No need to worry. Leaving the guard staring, utterly dumbfounded, I walked away from the hospital and headed for the airport. The moment I settled into my first-class seat, I looked out the window at the white clouds drifting freely in the brilliant golden sunlight. I took a deep, cleansing breath. System, the action of crawling up the stairs. Repeat 100 times. Before, she jumped down from above. This time, she could crawl her way up. If she was lucky, the whole family could lie in their hospital beds, all neat and tidy together. As for me, finally free of them, I was beginning to understand what it truly meant to fly.